I'm about to go into YouTube edit and then put a disclaimer saying, just so you know, guys, the first 5 minutes, Erickson does not know he can't be heard.
Yeah. Honestly, though, I think that was good self edit from God. Let
That was a great
you
opening for
got your
somebody who's
rage
dying
out.
right now of
You
a
got
Chinese
your
virus.
rage.
That was
That's
pretty
true.
fucking good.
So for anybody watching right now, if you didn't, obviously you didn't get the intro. Erickson and I, and a good amount of the house, think we might have the COVID.
We are now probably, I would say I'm 80% sure now, despite not having any sort of like physical evidence.
Yeah.
Because just when you take into account all the factors that have brought us to this point, it's very likely.
Uh,
And when I was first getting sick, I was pretty sure all I had was like some sort of like mediocre flu.
yeah.
Um, but now considering like so and so's dad, they came back. Now like Zach got sick. You're starting to feel sick. The thing's highly contagious. I
That's
left.
that's the funniest thing to me is just we are seeing. First of all, we one of us has got to get a test back. So, are you planning on getting tested? I think I'm gonna go get tested
I'm not
today.
getting tested. I'm not. I don't trust the test, to be honest.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter for me because I'm not going anywhere till I feel better anyway.
Right.
So unless I'm dying, unless I'm like I fall like unless I start to like vomit blood,
Yeah.
I don't see the point in me getting tested.
Are you
But
gonna get the antibodies test?
no, I don't know, maybe. Like I don't see the value in those things because like at the here's what I've noticed, okay? Like and I'd love to hear your experience so far, but this hasn't been
I'm
fun.
just getting into it. I got
This
to
has
tell you, I
not this
feel
has
it
not been
ramping.
fun.
It's ramping up on me, and I have the whirlwind of like beginner symptoms.
Well, I've been sick since Friday night.
Okay.
And what I'll tell you is that if I did not know that there was some sort of new virus going around along, and we were in the midst of a pandemic, I would just think that I had a common like flu, like not
Okay.
not even like the cold. I would think like this is just like I just got a bug,
Yeah.
and it's working its way through me.
Right.
So I'm doing everything that I would normally do, which is basically staying at home, taking it easy, drinking liquids,
Right.
and that's it. So I don't see the point, and that's what we should be doing when we get sick in general.
Right. But here's the thing, man. So yeah, you and I, if there wasn't a known pandemic going around, I would probably just think, yeah, this is just some little bug as well. But and for us, more than likely and hopefully, it will just be like a bad flu or a bad cold where it's like, oof, that sucked, but we're through it. But I'm like, if that's us, like now we're getting that firsthand experience. I'm like, oh yeah, but for some people this kills them. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, where it's like, and then you put on top of it, you see how truly infectious it can be. Like it's, I mean, granted, we live in a kind of flop house setup where it's four guys do a house with occasionally a guy crashing, and it's like yeah, you're in close proximity. The cleaning standards are that of a Hilton hotel, I'm sure.
Oh, I've
Uh,
I've been
uh,
at I've been at the salsa party house for a month, dude. We took no precautions whatsoever.
well, when you live amongst four guys like that, we just kind of subscribed to if one guy gets it, we're fucked.
Yeah,
Like it's
yeah,
just you know
yeah.
we're four adult guys occupying every room of the house. It's, like when some of my family members, like cousins, got it and whatnot, I'm like, that's a family. You can be like, all right, you stay in your bedroom. Mom and dad will bring you stuff. Like you stay put. But it's when you got four adults that still have to go about surviving and living their life. It's like, yeah, you can have some guys in the kitchen and whatnot. And now that when somebody's really down and out and sick, it's like, all right, yeah, we can take care of them. But it's just kind of one of those things where you're like, ugh. And it's kind of weird because we know more about this bug right now, and I'm a little bit worried where I'm like, a couple days ago I didn't like feel good, but I didn't feel sick. Today's the first day I woke up in like regular world, before COVID world, I would have been like, I don't feel good today. Having said that, I would probably have popped like 2 Tylenol and troopered through today because I still don't feel like awful, but I definitely am
Hmm.
out of homeostasis where I'm just like, I don't feel good. Where like a hot shower is gonna make it go away for like 5 minutes, and then I'll feel like crud. Cruddy has been used a lot. I feel cruddy, OG Yando hitting us up, by the way, with where I can go to get tested. Appreciate it, my man. That has been my go-to testing site this pandemic.
You've gotten
Um,
tested before?
I've been tested twice now because I have been exposed twice, and uh, normally, and I was thinking about getting tested anyways because of the circumstances of who exposed us this time. I was like, oh yeah, we should all go get tested. But before that even became a thing, people became symptomatic, and that's when I was like, oh shit, the aliens in the spaceship already. Like,
Oh yeah, no. For sure.
this has inspired me to. I want to finally make that sketch. We were all talking about doing it in the midst of the pandemic, but we want to do a sketch where it's zombie survivors and they all are getting into arguments, but it turns out everyone's just bit and they're all trying to convince each other that they're fine.
Well, that's what's funny. I had a thought recently, actually, speaking of zombie apocalypses. I was because I was noticing how like this is kind of the closest thing to a zombie apocalypse we've ever experienced in our country. I mean, like in at least the last like let's say century, maybe 50 years.
It's been
But
compared a lot to the 1918.
Spanish flu, yeah, the
Yeah.
19, yeah. But my
People
point
forget there was
is,
a bad pandemic in the 60s, but there was a lot of other shit going on in the 60s. So,
oh, really? I guess Vietnam overshadowed that shit.
no,
But
civil rights and yeah, just a bunch of communists doing what they do.
yeah, what was I gonna say? But my point is, this thing like it'd be funny how when we showed zombie movies now, like we showed zombie like viruses the way that Corona works, where it's like if you get bit, you might turn into a zombie, but you might also just have a headache for a few days, maybe kind of like the need to bite in the flesh, but then it just goes away after a while.
Yeah, yeah, yep. Um, I don't know, man. Like, I think this one wasn't. This is a bad pandemic, right? This is a bad bug, but I don't think it was viscerally scary enough for people.
Oh,
We're
we're gonna go
like,
back to this.
well, yeah, I think you and I have talked about this a couple times before. I'm like, if this one was just like a little bit deadlier, I think people would take it a lot more
Well, we
serious.
thought it was going to be. That's
Yeah,
another big.
yeah,
That was another one of the problems. Was that we were, and it would be nice if we could look at it as like kind of like thank God this didn't happen. But I
right,
think people have a
right.
problem when it's like when you kind of like scare them and then it doesn't actually come.
Well,
It doesn't come to fruition. But yeah, we thought the first week that this became
right,
apparent that it was in America that we were going to lose 2 million people.
but
That was the estimates of what we are going to lose. It was like 2 million
we're
people are going to die,
we're
and you're probably going to be
also
one of them. If it's not you, it's going to be one of your loved ones.
we're also what is it? We at 1
At what?
million right now. I
Infected, but dead's only 400,000.
Jesus. I mean, still a good amount.
Eh,
uh yeah, on Worldometers they got I don't know if people trust it, but on Worldometers they've got this for the world, and then if we go down to US of A, still crushing it. Yeah, 500,000, more than 500,000 dead in the US of A. So
oh,
there's that.
we broke 500,000. Nice.
Yeah,
Congratulations to us.
yeah. I'm surprised you didn't know that because you usually have Instagram updates on that. But going back to what you were saying about us thinking this was going to be more deadly. I think another problem is we are a reactionary society. Even globally, we're pretty reactionary. There's some countries that have been pretty proactive with this one. But what I'm worried about now is like whether in this one, even though it like probably for most of us affects us like a bad flu, um, is the mutated strains. What if one mutates and it does become more deadly, but we already have pandemic fatigue? I'm like, yeah, that's a bad spot to be in. And I'm kind of one of those people where like even if it mutated and got more deadly, I'd be like, well, these things happen.
Yeah, but it's already mutated, and it hasn't mutated in a way where it's become like severely worse. Like it's become a little bit trickier, but it hasn't. It's not like age where like it mutates so fast that we're unable to figure out a way to cure it. Like our biggest fear was that it would mutate in a way that before we even had a vaccine, we couldn't do anything to take care of it.
Right, but I mean, well, this is yet to be seen, but I think this might just be a new bug. that is out there like the flu, kind of with us every year. We're just
Everyone
like,
said that they're saying that Corona's here to stay, and of course, it behooves our government to have it stick around because they get to control us more. So yeah,
there it is.
uh,
You,
oh no, don't even dare it
you're
is me, okay? Like
you're
if
leaning
you
it.
were
There it
alive,
is.
if you were alive during 9/11 and you don't not see how things have changed so drastically, just at the airlines, just the way we fly now, and how little has happened since then. Like as far as like planes being like hijacked or blown up and stuff like that. Like, and we've never loosened any kind of like of our security. Although when COVID happened, and this might be apocryphal, but it's I remember hearing this somewhere, at least in like a few airports, not this Los Angeles, they were getting a little lax on the security because there were so
Yeah.
few people who want to fly. They didn't give a shit. They're like, whatever, just go through the line. We don't care.
I gotta tell you, TSA has never made sense to me. And then there's just documentaries about it not being effective.
It's
Like,
not.
I'm like, let me keep my belt and shoes on. Like someday I'm gonna snap and fucking kill somebody with my belt and shoes in a line at TSA. And
Well,
I'd be like,
well,
all right.
I up until about maybe a few months ago, I think it just expired. I had the pre-check done, which is
Okay.
$85, and they do a background check on you, and then you just don't have to take your shoes off.
Yeah, but
But the
that's
thing about
wild
that
to me
is that
that you
right,
pay them to
right.
give them more info. That's fucking insane.
Well, no, but here's the thing: you don't even really give them more info. Think about it though. Like, what do they get? Like, what are they getting that they couldn't get their hands on? It's not like it's not like it's not like I really gave them anything.
No, you're just paying them to take a look at
Yeah,
it.
I'm just paying them to let me. Here's the thing: why is it expired after 5 years? After 5 years, could I become a jihadist? Like, is that what could happen in 5 years? I'll become an extremist.
I think, yeah, give me 5 years. We could turn you into a jihadist.
Dude, I mean, I'm almost already there.
Yeah, I was like, dude, you're already angry and fired up about all kinds of shit.
Yeah, but I don't want to. But that's because
got in the right room with the suave enough angry ISIS recruiter, I think they'd get you. I think they'd get you good.
I think if anything, I would convince them to put down the knife and pull up the microphone and maybe just talk about it on. You might change a lot more minds in the podcast.
Have you shot a fully automatic
weapon
weapon before? I think that's how they get you.
I have, and it's honestly guns scare the shit out of me.
What did you shoot? What are you shooting fully?
I've shot an AK-47.
Full auto, just let her rip. Like I mean, hold the trigger and let her rip. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm gonna say it wasn't because it was one of those Las Vegas shooting ranges, and it just seems like a real disaster.
No, Vegas is one of the places in the country where I'd believe you if you were like.
Oh, they
Las Vegas has a few gun ranges that market itself like fully automatic, like hold the trigger and let her rip. But what I'm not convinced about is that feeling you would remember. Because holding the trigger down on an AK-47 and ripping through 30 rounds, you would probably remember that.
Dude, every time I've ever shot a gun has felt out of this world, and not in a good way. Like in a way where I'm just like, it's insane how quick, how fast, how loud, and like just like
how people
immediate.
How people react when they shoot tells you a lot about their character. I pay attention to how people shoot all the time.
So I guess I'm a pussy, is what you're saying.
No. Because I think you comprehend what's going on. Maybe not maybe not to an extent where you're thinking about it spot on. But it's like when you shoot, you're like, oh, there's something, going on here. And then I mean, maybe you understand the power of like if you directed this at somebody, you could just end them.
Well, I guess that's the thing is that I'll pull the trigger. I'll point the guns at the target. I'm looking at its chest, right?
Yep.
I'm looking at that circle in its chest, or maybe the circle in its head.
Yeah.
I'll pull the trigger. I'll hear the loudness.
Yep.
I'll feel the pushback. I'll look at the target and see how far I was from where I was aiming.
Yeah.
And I'm just becoming very aware of like, wow.
Yep.
This requires a lot of practice.
Yeah.
This could be very dangerous in the wrong hands. Like, just because imagine that's a person coming at me.
Yeah.
And I'm firing at them and I'm missing them constantly. There's other people around them. Like, they're dead.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm just not having a good day. Yeah.
It's just a mixture of like all of like the reality of shooting a weapon. It's not like when you're in Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And you just got to get the reticle in the general area. It's
Yeah.
like shit, dude. Like there's no feedback to tell you if you made the hit. There's no like, number that comes up over their head to tell you how much XP you got. It's just a very like it's a very tactless experience.
Well, I think that stuff's on its way, but um, they,
Apple is coming up with a contact lens for 2030.
yeah, I was gonna say there's HUDs coming, but I get what you're saying. The visceral action of it all, like, it's a lot. But I don't know, man. My point being is I've shot with some people that walk away with like doesn't make you feel like blah. Like whenever I have somebody talk about shooting, giving them this feeling of machismo.
Yeah, I never get that.
It always kind of off puts me. I'm like, yeah, but no, like I don't feel cooler. I feel a weird sense of serenity and responsibility where I'm just like, nah, man. If shooting's something that you like as a hobby and it gets you a little bit jazzed, cool, but I always just kind of thought it was lame. Anybody walking away a little too like, yes, like this is who I am now. I'm like, all right, like, but I mean, to each their own. There's plenty of responsible people who feel like that after they shoot, but I just always, my personal opinion, I'm like, lame. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I feel the responsibility. I don't feel much else other than that. I just realized that like, wow, this is not to be fucked with.
Yeah, again, it's so cliche, but it's like a Uncle Ben Peter Parker moment where like instead of getting bit by a radioactive spider, Uncle Ben could have just handed
him a gun.
Handed him a like
that would have been a great. That would be a great version of that.
Spider-Man.
He just says like, with great power
with
comes
gun.
great responsibility, and he gives him a fucking. It makes so much sense though. It's New York in the '60s. He's got to give him something to protect himself.
Yeah, man. It's
that would have been such a different. That would have been such a different movie.
It's hilarious to think Uncle Ben just opening up an old cigar box with his fucking Korean War 1945 or 1911 45, just handing Peter the gun and saying, yeah, with great power comes great responsibility. Because it's like most of the thugs Parker's web into the walls are powerless goons. So it's like a guy with a pistol could have easily been like, hey, stop it. Like, all right.
He would have stopped that guy from killing his uncle.
Yeah. Gun would have been great there.
Right. He would have shot him before. And that would make even more sense, actually, why Uncle Ben got shot.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have his gun on him.
Because he didn't have his gun.
He just gave it to Peter.
If Uncle Ben was like, oh,
and that's how Peter realizes, like, oh my God, dude, I really got to make sure I use this gun more often.
When they reboot it and Uncle Ben's getting shot, it'd be hilarious if he goes for his like shoulder holster. He's like, like just gave it to Pete.
Exactly.
But this is also why I do like, as a superhero, the Punisher. And I don't know a lot about the Punisher from like when he was first written, but when I was a kid and there weren't like a ton of TV shows or Marvel movies out yet, my brother introduced me to the Punisher, and it was pretty much, they're just like, hey, what if a guy's superpower was just guns? Because it's like, yeah, not bad. Like, not a bad superpower if you got a lot of guns and know how to use them.
I'm pretty sure he was a '90s creation where like they basically like in that because in the '90s there was also a need for grittiness in comic books. They wanted to make them a little more adult and like realistic. And I think I'm pretty sure he was conceived as the idea of like, what if he's just an average guy? What if he's just an average guy with a lot of guns?
Try to describe the superpower of having a gun without actually mentioning weapons or firearms, but just being like, oh, he's got this power where like he can point his hand out and kind of like attack people from like 100 yards out, and it's like a super small, almost invisible force that like pierces their skin and can destroy their organs. And then you're like, wow, yeah, what's his power? And be like, yeah, he's got an AR-15.
Well, that's what it sounds. That honestly, when you described it, I was exactly
for sure. But we were just talking about gun. If you nuanced it up enough, like you could probably make a guy with a bunch of guns.
If you took away the guns, and you just had the power to do that, that's a horrendous power.
Yeah,
He has the power to
Scary.
point his fingers at people and just tear them to shreds.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, is that the devil?
Yeah, exactly.
It sounds like that's the devil.
Look at this. He can make an object go from stationary to the speed of sound. I like that. That's OG Yondo tuning in on that.
I like Sean. I like Sean Murray. He's like, hey, it's the guns one.
Yeah. Well, it's the obstacle.
Hell yeah, it's the guns one.
I guess you know what? We inadvertently found what we're obstacally conquering. Dude, we conquered COVID. And what sucks is, you're right. Performing, I have stage health right now. I've been,
Yeah, me too.
Before COVID, I used to get stage health all the time where I'd feel sick, but I got a show. So I'm like, let's go. And I feel, I'm just bummed that like maybe 20 minutes after you and I stop podcasting, it's going to set back in where I'm like,
oh yeah,
no,
dude.
no.
So you're just starting, but I'll tell you, like, at least my sister says this has been her experience as well, because she just had it 2 weeks ago. So that's how I was able to confirm kind of that I have it, because I started explaining to her my symptoms. She's like, yeah, that's exactly what I went through. But it's going to be constant feel. I told you yesterday.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, dude, I think I'm going to be on my feet tomorrow. And then I woke up this morning and I was like, I need to die. Like, I just sucks. Like, I'm not waking up at all today.
Everybody was in a state of denial from like you being like, nah, I'm pretty healthy guy. I'm a young buck. I verbally in my mind put together you just doing curls with one arm, be like, nah, St. COVID can't keep me down. I'm pretty healthy, dude, and just slapping your bicep, being like, I'll be on my feet tomorrow. Like, I'm like, oh, all right. And then like everybody else single-handedly being like, I don't feel good. I don't feel good. I don't feel good. And then me just being like, I feel off. And then this morning being like,
yeah, it's that's what sucks, I think, about it the most, is that like it's not a very straightforward like careening down into sickness and then like a slow ride back up.
Yeah.
It's this constant feeling of like, okay, this is terribly uncomfortable, to like, oh, okay, maybe I think I'll be okay tomorrow morning, to like, oh no, I'm just as sick, if not worse.
Dude,
Like, okay, I guess I'm going to be coming back to, oh, okay, how long does this last?
Somebody, yeah.
I'll still say this. What I had in December of 2018 was way worse than this. This is still way tolerable.
I'm not gonna lie, man. I've had, back in the day, some actual flus where I was like, fucking kill me. I think people are forgetting. It's like, yeah, you can have both. Like, you can have different experiences, and some people, this is gonna be that flu that's like, oh, fucking kill me. But I have heard about corona in general that it is an ebbs and flows disease. And somebody was telling me that the devil comes at night, at least for them, where they were like, yeah, I'd feel like okay during the day, but like by mid-afternoon to evening, I'd feel like shit, sleep, and then feel horrid when I woke up, and then would fight it off a little bit, feel okay during the day, and go through that cycle for like a week and a half, where they just said at night it would get bad, they'd wake up feeling like death, fight it off a little bit during the day, and then continue to go through that. So I don't know if you're going through like a different kind of cycle.
When I go to sleep at night, if I sleep during the day, I take naps during the day, and I wake up feeling amazing. I wake up feeling like, okay, I think I've got this under control. It's when I do sleep at night, for some reason, I think it's because I'm sleeping longer, I'll end up having an insanely awful nightmare.
Okay.
Nightmares that reveal to me who I am as a person. You want to talk about something that reveals something to you? I had a nightmare last night.
What, fever dreams?
Suddenly, like I guess, like I had a nightmare. What happened was I like woke up and realized I was at a dinner table with an entire cast of a play that I was the lead in, and they were all waiting for me to say my part. And I hadn't not realized I had this responsibility until this very moment. And everyone's just looking at me, and I'm just like confused and ashamed and upset, and realizing I'm about to lose this huge chance in my life.
Wow, dude, that's your
and I was just mortified. I was absolutely mortified.
That's the most beautiful.
I am playing Hamilton, and I do not know any of my lines. I'm the first white guy to play Hamilton.
That's the most theater kid
ruining
beautiful fever dream. I'm like, wow, that's what you think horrific is? Okay.
it was so weird because like looking back, it's funny how when you look back at dreams, you're always like, why didn't I just realize how ridiculous the situation was? But in the moment, I was so embarrassed and ashamed, I couldn't even say anything. I just sat there and looked at everyone as they looked at. Dude, it was a dream that felt like it was literally like just 20 minutes of a standoff of the entire room looking at me, waiting for me to say my line, and me looking back at them like, I think nothing's different here. Nothing's. What am I? I'm just here. What am I supposed to say? I have no idea.
Right. Wow, man, that's the dream that revealed who you are as a person.
Yeah, at the end of the day,
Crazy.
I don't know. I felt a tremendous amount of shame that I have not felt in years, dude.
Wow, fair. You're letting a team down. I have not had a fever dream in a minute, so I'm hoping they're not coming. Cause mine are not sweet. I let the team down play kind of dreams.
I know you. I know you. You're probably raping a small animal
Nah,
to death.
I haven't done that yet, but I
Yeah.
definitely covered in blood, and yeah, it's not good. I'm like, oh
Jesus, dude. Did you serve at all?
no, but
By the way, do you
there's
think? By the way,
a
do you
couple
think?
things that fucked me up when I was a kid of like
Yeah.
seeing some horrendous violence, seeing like yeah, I've seen people die at ages I probably shouldn't have in like not controlled nursing home or hospital settings, like
I got a feeling, dude. If you watch someone die, get euthanized in a nursing home, it's still pretty much
I've
it
seen
haunts you as a
both.
child.
I gotta tell you, I've seen both styles of
And
dying,
and
and
and,
I'm
and the
like,
nursing home, you were kind of like, that seems reasonable.
well, it was like I've got two things that kind of freak me out about that, right? Because when I saw somebody, one of them was on the freeway. I just saw somebody like just turn into pink mist, just fucking
Whoa.
hit by a truck and just gone. Like
Okay.
I don't know how to explain it because it's not like a horror movie where it's hammed up Hollywood like over the top gore, but it's still worse than that because it's real life. But it's also it. I don't know. That one fucked me up a little bit because it was so quick too. Where it's like again like a gunshot, except it was like a Mack truck, and I don't even know who the person was, but it was like, whoa. Um, it's just seeing somebody go from existing to not existing, and you kind of
Yeah.
deal with that philosophic thought as a kid because you don't even understand what you're feeling, the nuanced of that, and then also seeing something like kind of hyper grotesque where if you slowed it down, if you scrub through it on a slow frame rate, you'd be like, ew. But because it was so goddamn quick, you're like, huh. Um, uh, so yeah, I don't know, man. That was gross and weird. But then I've also seen people pass in that nursing home setting, and part of me, even as a kid, when it was grandparents and whatnot, and they're like giving you all kinds of drugs, and they're like, oh yeah, they they're in no pain. We're making sure they're going peacefully. Part of me is like, how the fuck do you know that? Like they're comatose in the bed, and you're just pumping them full of shit. And you're like, yeah, but they're not in pain, and they're going peacefully. I'm like, what if they're having a dream? I don't know, where fucking Predator is chasing them around a jungle, and they're all high and shit, so they're like loopy. But then, like, as his claws come out and stab you through the chest, your final heart attack kills you, and that's how you die. And like, yeah, he went peacefully. I'm like, are you in his dream world right now? We don't know. So I don't know, man. The sudden gross ones for the viewer are terrible, but I'm like, yeah, for the person dying, it's
Yeah. No, you don't know.
you're gone.
I was I'll never forget. I took an edible one time on my way back to Philly. I was on the train, and a train station was like some high as shit, just looking out the window.
Yeah.
And we're going through a station, so it's like in the dark. And as we're passing by the platform, there's all those pillars, so it's kind of like this very otherworldly, almost like you're seeing like like a film strip
Yeah.
as you go through. And as we're passing through the platform, I just see like empty platform, crowd of people all looking the same direction, which is like
It's
already
never
kind of
good.
like,
Never good
but
at a
but
train station.
but when you're stoned, it's kind of like, am I imagining everyone's looking in the same direction? Everyone looking in the same direction. everyone looking in the same direction, then just a wide emptiness, and then paramedics on an old man without a shirt pumping his
Uh,
chest and putting air in his mouth, and then just nothing. And I was just like, well, that is the most bizarre thing
yeah.
I could possibly have seen while I was stoned as
I'm
fuck.
I'm not gonna lie. I have not been I have not been in an altered state of mind seeing any of that stuff, but it will alter your state of mind. I'm surprised being on the road for comedy. You never saw anything on the road? I've seen tons of shit on the road for comedy.
Dude, I
And
don't think a
then
lot of people get. I don't think a lot of people try to run across a highway, let alone get smacked by a semi.
oh no, but I mean like I've seen that and then this one I was driving home from college and it kind of fucked me up. I don't know if I want to turn this into the snuff cast, but it is weird because my buddies that did serve are some of the dudes that like I have talked to about this because I'm like, hey, how do you feel when you see this? Um, and it's I was just driving home and there was a couple on a motorcycle and it's the second time I've seen a truck do this, but it like hit the back of the motorcycle and
Jesus.
like the woman on the back got kind of sucked under and then the
Oh.
guy got pushed off and over the side. And that was one where like I had to pull over. Like I just was like, "Oh god." like and it was kind of a flashpoint of like what happened, compartmentalizing, having 911 show up, and then calling my dad, who is shock trauma doc and then an army surgeon. And I was like, hey, man, like, I saw this and I feel weird. and like, but it's like, I didn't know how to feel. I don't know if that is making sense to anybody right now, but you're in a literal kind of state of shock. I was so shocked by what I'd seen. I was like, I don't know how to feel. And I'm just kind of talking monotone to my dad. And I was like, I just kind of want to come home because that's what I was doing. And he's like, yeah, do that. He's like, just, 10 and 2, put something on that's not going to be obtrusive, like music kind of lower. He's like, just focus on getting home safe. And then like, we'll sit down and just kind of talk if you need to and chat. But I was like, that shit. Yeah, man. So it's weird, dude. I've also been first responder on a couple of accidents like that as well. Where
Okay, well that makes sense. If you've done first responder work, you've definitely seen a lot.
not
Of crazy
here's the thing though, not like as a job. I just have had Red Cross training and for a few jobs. Like when I was a personal trainer, you had to get CPR certified, and then for like I don't know, like another $25, they had a shock trauma like or whatever first aid like that you could take. And so I did that, and then I've always grown up like with my dad teaching me how to do tourniquets and trachs with pens and shit like that. Um, but yeah, so twice I've had to like pull over and do that, and man, I just empathize for people like soldiers, EMS workers, anybody that is like a first responder who has to deal with like that human violence or just ugh.
Yeah, I almost
Yeah.
became. I studied to be an EMT, and I almost became a paramedic. But just hearing the stories of what people had dealt with, like my friend would say, like I've seen somebody with their head on their head. Like I've seen someone have their head decapitated. I was like, I'm not doing this shit.
Yeah, it's yeah, yeah. That's a rough day at work, man. I have a bit about
I had a joke about it.
well, have you ever seen True Detective?
Yeah, the first one.
Yeah, the first season. Okay, good. It's the only season that I reference, but when Woody Harrelson's character like they do like why'd you finally like quit being a detective? Like what finally broke you? And it's just like a 10-second scene that was so masterfully done of like I've seen enough. And it was when he's a detective and they're at a crime scene and there's a baby in a microwave. Like somebody microwaved a baby to death.
Oh my god, I
And
forgot all about that.
yeah, and like it kind of shows enough of that, and then Woody Harrelson's eyes, and you could just see, yeah, that broke him, and he doesn't even say it. Like it's a later on, like he clearly was still a cop after the whole main
Yeah.
storyline, but it's just like, dude, Yeah, I have a joke where I reference. I'm like, yeah, that's my baby in a microwave. Like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. Like,
Does that joke go well?
yeah, it usually does. And for the
Oh
people
yeah,
that
people
get it.
love the baby in the microwave.
I'm not gonna lie, man. I read the room and like, I've done that joke for mainly like firefighters or um, you know, that
Yeah,
kind of crowd.
I can see
Firefighters,
firefighters. Yeah,
soldiers,
appreciate it.
like cops. Yeah, man. Like people get that and they're like, yeah, seen too much. But anyways, that got weird. The whole reason being though is when people I do get asked a lot, like, have I served? I'm like, nope, never served. Kind of grew up as a little bit of an army brat, and then have just been in some weird situations where I'm like, well, this knowledge would behoove me to have. So
Well, then I'm hoping to God you don't have the kind of nightmares that I've been having because it sounds like you'd be a lot worse. But here's my question for you: do you feel like drinking tab right now is probably the best way to like stay healthy during Corona?
I grabbed it because y'all were talking about losing your sense of taste and smell, and I was like, what's something that definitely has a taste?
I haven't lost it yet. My sister said she lost the smell near the end, but that's about it. I don't think I'm gonna lose my sense of taste. Um, dude, I don't know I don't know when I'm gonna get better, honestly, at this point, because like I've had enough false like hopes where I'm like, okay, it's probably over tomorrow. I'm now just like, who knows? Maybe it'll be 2 weeks of this shit. Because that's the thing. Everyone keeps talking about how like it's got this everyone keeps talking about
Sorry,
how
my
it's got
cough.
this like, it's got this relentless nature to it. I just don't understand how the body is reacting. Like what's going on that my body keeps going to the point where it's like I'm fine. And it's like, oh no, there's still more of this shit in here. Let's turn off the heat again. Let's slow shit down.
It's a
But I'm looking forward to it being over, dude.
yeah.
I will say this though, I wonder if I'm going to become more aggravated now with masks and shit. Now that I know that I've had it and that I don't need to protect myself. Like that's why I don't understand like people who get vaccinated. I'm like, how do you not want to like be able to say, hey, look, I got vaccinated. Why do I have to wear a mask now? Come on, leave me the fuck alone.
I think it's because as I'm not a scientist on on the CDC's team here, but I think it's because even if you're vaccinated, you can still actually be a carrier for the live strain and just not exhibit symptoms. So if you're fully vaccinated, I think it more or less would just make you asymptomatic if you had the real bug. Um, to what I've been told. Whereas if you have actual antibodies and you've had it, you won't be a carrier because you'll have antibodies that destroy it. So I don't know, man.
Well, then if I've had it, then you should let me not wear a mask. If I've had it, then I don't have to wear a mask.
yeah, but
Like let me just
you'd have
let
to
me put
go
my
get tested, wouldn't you? And
well,
then,
give me the incentive and I'll go get
yeah,
tested.
and
But
then
that's the thing. There's no incentive.
I think the other thing is the antibodies wear off after about 6 months. I think they say
Well, then give me 6 months of mask-free enjoyment.
just 6 months, get that orgy in, then hunker down for
Let me,
6 months.
yeah, exactly. Let me go fucking climb without a mask on. Let me
No
just like, go
pants.
grocery shopping. I don't know about the pants.
Would you still wear the rig? If, if
The rig?
I feel like that'd be a sexy outfit if you went rock climbing with that whole harness on but no
Jesus.
clothes.
Ugh, that's uncomfortable.
You
That
got your
already
garters
sounds.
on. All you
Dude, it's so.
sexy
It's
ladies you see there, you'd be like, oh
dude.
yeah.
Dude, it is so weird that we have like a nut sack. It's just like when you think about it, it's like it is such an oddball thing to have
God doesn't make
on.
mistakes.
I
It's
don't know, man. That's
perfect
just such a.
design.
It's like we talk about like how men have it all, but I'm like, we as far as physicality goes, like we definitely are one of the most weird looking. We're definitely the weirder looking version of humans.
I think so. Yeah. Up into, I would say, from a tactical perspective, up until the dick and balls, it all makes sense. And then you see
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
and you're like,
yeah,
what's going
yeah,
on there?
yeah,
Like, all right.
yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't make any goddamn sense.
They should have made it so that thing kind of retracts, like it comes out of a hole and then
I
like
think
goes into another hole.
for some guys that's probably a thing.
Oh God.
Yeah, just dudes sucking it all in. What if guys? Yeah, here's the thing, man. If that truly was the way to go, nature figuring it out, wouldn't micro penises rule the day?
Yeah, I guess you got a point there, but then there's always pleasure that comes. There's always the fact that people need to enjoy themselves.
Yeah, is that
Yeah.
right?
You ain't gonna fuck unless you're having a good time. I just don't think that's. I think that's just par for the course. I don't think there's any animal that fucks. Like think about this. Like mantises know they're gonna get their heads eaten off after
Yeah.
they fuck, but it's worth it to them.
You think
It's
they
worth it.
know? I don't think they
Yeah,
know. I don't
they
think they
gotta
go to a
know.
mantis sex ed and they're like, all right, listen
Yeah,
up,
I mean
listen up.
it's okay.
Some
If
some
they
old
don't know, if they don't know, then what that also means is that she doesn't know that after she fucks him and comes,
yeah.
that she's gonna be very hungry for his head.
She feels so good after she just bites that head off.
But it's just crazy. It's like if he doesn't know that she's gonna eat his head, then that means she doesn't know that after she has an orgasm, the next feeling she's gonna have is a desire to eat his brains.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. How would you feel that after you fucked a girl, all of a sudden you're like, I don't know why, but I want to fucking eat her face?
She cummed my brains out. That's I don't know, man. That's I if you ask me, people always talk about lions having, 30 sexes a day and pigs having orgasms for half hours. I'm like, yeah, but manises fuck so good that they bite each other's heads off.
Yeah, well, not each other.
Well,
The woman
ladies
goes to the
bite, yeah,
man's.
yeah.
And like I said, the man doesn't even necessarily expect to be coming. He's just like, that was what the fuck? And she's just like, that's what she wants. She wants to eat his head now.
Yeah, I think we
Oh,
need
I'm
an
sick, dude. Honestly,
entomologist and a porn
this was
star.
not the thing to talk about during COVID. I already feel sick to my stomach.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
worried because I'm starting to feel all right, but I feel like
Well, you let me know how you feel 10 minutes after this podcast
right.
because
Now I'll text you off mic, being
you're
like, "Yep,
still in the beginnings of it. And I wonder sometimes if I'm still in the beginnings of it. Like I'm wondering if like in a few more days if it's going to get really bad.
when did you first feeling symptomatic?"
I told you Friday night I started having a little bit of a light cough, and I could feel like a dryness in
Hang
my
on,
throat.
let's check the you check the comments right now. I don't know if you see it. OG Yano just hitting with the so yeah, the weather's getting real nice outside.
Yeah, he was saying that when you were talking about watching guys explode into vapor.
Ah, fair enough. I guess nobody else has been there. Our viewer count did go down there, and I apologize, but I'm like,
It's okay. We're not here for the viewership right now. We're here just to like,
yeah,
inform ourselves.
it just kind of came
Um
out. I was like, oh boy, I've seen people
no.
explode into vapor. Uh, but
What was I saying? So Friday night I started feeling a little bit of ache, a little bit of dryness, and a little bit of a cough. But I also realized that I had been like climbing 4 days in a row and really exerting myself. So I wasn't sure if like I was sick or if I was just like overdoing it physically. The next day I felt a little bit out of it, but still also kind of like okay.
yeah,
But by the time I had gotten done breakfast and I was driving home, I was like, yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to sleep this day
not
off.
feeling good. Okay, so yeah, so you kind of felt it slowly coming on, and I got to tell you, I kind of feel that. Hey, what's up, Nick? We are doing all right so far. Zachy's still down and out, but we'll get into everybody's individual health here on the starting lineup in a moment. But so it's weird because I remember you were like, I'm feeling sluggish. And, we were talking about maybe overtraining or just like needing a break. What kind of was a red flag to me is Saturday. So this Saturday after the morning show, I tried to work out and I just felt like a fatigue that I couldn't explain. It wasn't like a not.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Like,
no. So and I thought that was just it was a weird fatigue because I tried doing. It's funny you should mention that because when I was finishing up climbing, I was
Yeah.
feeling fatigued and I was like, I'm not climbing good today. But it's like that happens sometimes.
Yeah.
But one thing I tried to do that was weird was I tried doing a pull up
Yeah.
and I could barely get through one.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
that's not normal.
Yep. That's
Like,
that's kind of how I want to describe it too. Is like you like walking around, I felt fine, but like as I tried to exert more, where I was like, yeah, let's just do this workout, my body was like, no, like push-ups, anything. It was just like, stop
Yeah.
doing these right now. And I'm like trying to gut through it, like, okay, quit being a bitch, like Dave Goggins through this and be like, yeah, let's fucking go. But like half hour into the workout, I just felt stale the whole time.
I could tell that if I was to like to push myself to do a real pull up, I was going to be exerting myself in a major way.
Yeah.
And I
Yep.
was like, that's not something you should be
So,
doing.
so you felt that first before like anything, right? Just that kind of workout
Yeah,
fatigue. Yeah.
yeah, and I just and I but I thought to myself, well, maybe I mean I do overdo it a lot, and I've been climbing 4 days in a row for at least an hour a day, so like maybe I'm just like overdoing it. But looking back now, and also I guess that's the thing. It's like and this is where I blame the media. No one did a good enough job really explaining to us like what COVID symptoms are, because all I hear all the
They're
time
all
is
over
all
though.
yeah, everyone's like, well, it could be anything.
Yeah.
Basically, if you feel sick, you probably have COVID. And I'm like, that's not helpful, because there's a bunch of people I know who've gotten sick who don't have COVID.
Yeah. But this
So that's
one,
not going to work for me.
COVID. So I've started looking at it like a goddamn DSM disease, where I'm like, all right, if you have like 7 of the 11 symptoms, that's where I'm 7-11. But that's where I'm like, you probably have it, because it's anywhere from like they always say fever's the biggest one for COVID, but I know plenty of people who had it who never had an actual temp. But
I don't
there's
have a
like,
fever. My
oh,
sister didn't either.
right. So there's fever, then there's body
Which,
aches,
by the way, that's what they
fatigue.
test you for every time you go into a place. They're always
Right,
testing your
right.
fucking
Where I'm
temperature. It's
like,
like,
okay,
well,
what?
that's like that doesn't mean shit. In fact, I
Right.
want what happened. So here's what's crazy is, and I didn't think this was gonna come up, but I was bitching about this before I even knew I had COVID. The day I must have had it, right, where I started getting symptoms, I'd gone to that to this rock climbing gym. It was the day after I had just gotten the membership. I gave them $49 to get a membership. And the next day I come in, the guy does there's a guy behind the counter. I'm the only one there. He takes the scan, nothing in there. I
Yeah.
go up, I go up on the wall, I'm climbing. After my first like practice climb, I do like a warm-up climb. I get down, I see a guy who's trying to talk to me.
Yeah.
So I take out my earphones. He's like, and it's this fucking like Jesse Plemons looking motherfucker with a mask on. He's like, he's got the thing. I was like, hey, do you gotta get your temperature checked? And I was like, I got it checked already. Like the guy
Yeah.
over there checked it. He's like, oh, okay. Well, just so you know, also you're not supposed to have 2 headphones in. We have a rule. We don't have 1 headphone in, so we can get in contact with you. And I was just like, fuck you, dude. Like,
Yeah,
whoever the fuck
what?
you. I was like, they never told me that. I was like, yeah, it's been a rule for like the last year. And I'm like, well, I've been coming here for 2 months, buddy. So I don't know what the fuck you're
Yeah,
talking about.
that's a stupid rule.
Right. Well, yeah, because also when you're climbing, it's like if I'm halfway up a climb, you're not going to try to get my attention
Right.
because you could fuck me up and I could hurt myself.
Right.
You're gonna wait till I get down. So just wait till I get down and then tap me on the shoulder.
This is a more
Or-
extreme version of them using COVID for some nonsense, much like
Right,
cones
yeah.
at Chick-fil-A. Give me the goddamn cone.
Right,
It's
right.
not
No,
'cause of COVID.
just like you got pissed off at Chick-fil-A for
Yeah.
saying they don't have cones of the COVID. I got pissed off at this guy for using COVID as an excuse for not using earphones. And I'm like, go fuck yourself,
yeah,
dude.
get fucked.
But I was so pissed at him that it ruined my whole climb. I thought that was the reason I was getting weak. But now that I know that I've got COVID, I want to go back and be like, hey, buddy, just so you know, that temperature shit doesn't mean crap.
Yeah. Well, okay. Another thing about mood and being sick, and this is anecdotal no, it's not anecdotal. I talked to a few scientists. My cousin who's a doctor and another guy getting his PhD in viral medicine. I asked him if like being sick can affect your mental health, like having an actual cold or flu.
Yeah.
And there's actually research that does coincide that like physical illnesses like that can drain you to the point where it can affect your actual mental health as well. If you're, no shocker to anybody, susceptible to like depression or other mental health issues. And so I've had a few buddies also talk about when they get sick, also getting like angry or sad or low. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. But that also could be, an old school, your body actually using depression as a plus. Cause it's like, yeah, stay in bed, dumbass. Like, don't do anything. But okay, so symptoms. I kind of want you to go through, like, because I'm a little bit worried because today's the first day where I woke up being like, ooh, I feel off. Like, I feel cruddy. So am I about to get walloped like the next couple of days here of being
You're probably gonna be fine because you've got like the fucking marathon man body. But
I've seen it take people down, man.
I know. Well, what I've experienced so far is just fatigue is mostly what it is, just fatigue. Dry throat. I've been waking up now with a little bit of a shit, a little bit of a coating on my mouth, which I don't like. Slight runny nose, which I don't mind if it doesn't get any further than that.
Yeah.
Um, and a bit of a stomach ache every so often.
Yeah, I kind of
Um,
got all that, but like in a mild category right now.
yeah, and I think and it'll kind of like it'll kind of go up and down a little bit of intensity, but that's about all I've had so far.
Okay.
Um, I don't. I mean,
Like
right now we're
like
having a
rubber
conversation
banding, you mean? Where it's like one thing will be more than the other for a little bit, or
where I no, I mean like where there's moments you're gonna feel like, okay, I'm better. I think I'm on my way, like like to recovery, and then you're like, oh shit, I guess not. It's because it's
yeah.
definitely coming back in full force. Um, Muscle ache,
Yeah.
but mostly just muscles I've been working out, like my back
Hell
and
yeah,
my
dude.
my, my
Fuck yeah.
fingers.
Keep it strong. Weirdly enough, my hands have been like
Well, that's
achy.
crazy then. That's crazy then,
Like
because my hands too. But I thought it's because
yeah.
I've been climbing so much that I've been putting so much pressure on my joints. But maybe that's just what it does. But yes,
Uh
my joints and my fingers have been extremely, not painful, but just
uh
like there is a tremendous amount of like,
well, keep this in
um,
mind. We're old as shit, and then the week before this, I was doing a lot of jujitsu. I'm kidding, but like the grip strength for climbing and jujitsu are probably in the same
okay, so yeah,
category. So
that's the thing. I feel like we both use our fingers a lot,
yeah,
so that's why we're feeling a lot of tension in there.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't think other than that, it's not like I haven't vomited, which I mean I haven't felt close to vomiting really.
Is that a COVID thing?
No, but I'm
Oh,
just talking about sickness stuff. Like
okay.
what would happen when you're sick? And there's not that
Yeah.
much that's happening that's making me like,
I'm not gonna lie, man. Okay. But you said today you felt worse than the other days so
no, I
far.
just well this morning I felt pretty crummy.
Okay.
But I was also waking up early and like I'd had that terrible nightmare. Like
Right. Right. Yeah.
who knows?
I think that is kind of a general when you're sick. The first like half hour of the day is even worse. Like coming out of it and like getting going. Now once you're up in motion and you're like, all right, I'll be okay. But
Right.
I don't know, man. All right, I'm a little worried. I'm gonna check on the rest of the boys.
I think the rest of the boys are not as much physical shape as we are, so I think they're probably gonna have a harder time. I think some of them have also been dealing with more depression, and I think that's going to affect it a little bit more as well. I think I've got a bit of, despite going into a depression because of the sickness, I've got a bit of an upbeat attitude lately,
right.
so that's been helping me.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, man. Like I got a few things to get done this week that just have to be done, but I'm probably gonna just have myself a low key sick week. And
Yeah, take it
then
easy.
yeah, and then shit. Yeah, for anybody, are the people that are in the OG Yondo OG Salsa Parlor crowd watching right now. Yeah, I would say right now everybody here is thinking they have it.
No, no, everybody
And
except for one person who
yeah,
decided to go to work today. Um, and they're probably the person who brought it into the house, and that's fucking crazy. I'm sorry. I love them. I love it. I
yeah,
love everyone. I love everybody in this also part of the house. But part of loving someone is being able to say to their face, "I think you're being a little bit ridiculous."
yeah,
Because that's crazy. That is crazy. I
yeah.
look if you guys weren't sick right now, I would probably still think I have some sort of like mediocre flu.
I when Zach was feeling sick, and again, like homeboy looks the part of being
I
ill,
bet.
and then you said you were sick. That's when I was like, ooh, this might be something.
Yeah.
That's when the little
Yeah.
red light went off in my brain. And then when Trevor and Jake are both, I'd say, feeling about like my speed, where we're like we feel crummy, but we're still mobile. But
Right.
it's like, yeah, we'll see. Um, and then yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm probably gonna go get a rapid test at some point today, just to fucking knock this out. Because I'm like,
Yeah.
the fact that we also don't just have convenient rapid testing at this point of the pandemic is just blowing my mind. Where I'm like, come on, like,
Yeah.
uh, but I don't know, man. We'll see. You got any? We got Sean Murray saying good to see OG. He's giving shout out to Yondo. Jackie, thank you so much. Thanks to everybody in the chat right now. And then Erickson, you got anything else you want to get into, or should we start wrapping up?
Now let's just wrap it up. My wife tokens are going down hard right now, and I think I might have to sell them. So, yeah, guys, if you like what you hear here, you can always, and by here I mean you like what I'm saying. You always go check out my podcast, Just Erickson. Other than that, you can find me here on the Obstacle. I'll be coming back to Salsa Parlor headquarters in about 3 weeks. So by that point, we've got hopefully, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like April. So hopefully by that point, we'll all be recovered. And it'll be nice because we'll all know there's nothing to worry about after that.
Yeah, this could be a blessing in disguise to be like, well, we're good now. So,
yeah, I know. We got 6 months left now of us just being able to enjoy ourselves.
Come to the orgy in April. It's at the parlor. Okay. Yeah, everybody, thank you for tuning into the Obstacle today. This is a fun show, had to go on style. If you like,
I'm glad we did it. I think it's helped me out a little bit. I think it's give me some more energy.
I was gonna say the stage health is always nice. If you like the banterings, you can catch Nick Ladorf and I, who Nick was in the chat. Shout out Nick. We comedy law based podcast, a lot of fun. Called Free Consultation. Find us anywhere you find podcasts. We have a bunch of different segments, but the final segment is where Nick, real life lawyer, gets real life emails from the internet from people looking for some free consultation, and we have all the teehees at them, and sometimes actually help some people out. And then I just put up a new Loaded for Bear about bugging in versus bugging out. You can find that on YouTube at Loaded for Bear. I'm over 100 subscribers on Loaded for Bear, so
nice, dude.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
appreciate that. But Salsa Parlor, let's get to 100 subscribers so we can actually have our web domain. So
yeah.
So please like the video, guys. Subscribe if you haven't. Tell a friend or two if they're into the banterings of a bunch of sick Michigan comics. That we'll get into it. But morning show will probably be happening this Saturday if we're all starting to feel better. But if not, if you tuned into the Obstacle this week, you know what's going on with us. All right. Thanks, guys. Love you guys.
Later.
See ya.